A blessed good morning, honorable members, and those under the sound of my voice. In our Moments of Impact Reflection segment, I'll be sharing today part 2 of our 8-part leadership series entitled Juggernaut Leadership. A juggernaut leader is a leader who is powerful, unstoppable, indomitable, and is an overwhelming force to reckon with. In today's reflection, I want to focus on the word consistency. Consistency is the quality of always behaving or performing in a similar way, regularly or with steadily continuity. As a leader, it's important that you always remember that you are constantly in the spotlight. The people you lead are always watching what you do or don't, and believe it or not, they will take their cue from you. So therefore, it is incumbent upon you as a leader to be consistent at all times with everything you do. As a juggernaut leader, you must be consistent with your communication. That means you must tell the truth at all times, and not only when it's convenient. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 22 says, "Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight." As a juggernaut leader, you must be consistent with your character. You must live above board at all times and in every circumstance, and be guided by principles and values. Proverbs chapter 11 and 3 says, "The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the willful contrariness and crookedness of the treacherous shall destroy them." In conclusion, I want to leave you today with 3 reasons why it's important to develop consistency as a leader. Number 1, consistency makes you credible and worthy of trust. Number 2, consistency always provides some level of predictability, and predictability builds dependency. And lastly, consistency builds expectations. People know what to expect from you as a leader when you are consistent. I leave you with this final thought today. Consistency breeds consistency. If you want those who follow you to be consistent, then you must first model it. Always remember, as a leader, you cannot demand what you're not prepared to display. Selah. Think and act on these things. Let us pray. Our gracious and eternal Father, we lift up your name on high. For, O Lord, you are great and you are greatly to be praised. The psalmist declared, from the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, your name is worthy to be praised. O Lord, today as a nation, we come boldly before your throne of grace because we need you. We need you more now than ever before. We need to preserve and protect all of our brothers and our sisters who are in the pathway of Hurricane Melissa. We pray today for your mercy and your intervention, for there is nothing too hard for you to do. We ask, Almighty God, that you would calm the storm and cause it to veer off into the ocean and dissipate. We pray today for a miracle. Cover our brothers and our sisters in the southeastern Bahamas. Keep them safe, Lord, from all harm and danger. We thank you in advance for your divine protection. Now, Father, we pray for our political leaders. We ask, Almighty God, for your wisdom and your guidance as they navigate us through these uncertain times. We pray for their consistency in the area of their communication and their character. Lord, strengthen each of them today as they carry out the nation's business. We ask you, Almighty God, to bless the proceedings of this house, and please continue to bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. This is our prayer, for it's in Jesus' name we pray, and all of God's people say, amen. Amen. Let us pray the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Philip Davis, Chester Cooper, Fred Mitchell, Glennis Hannah Martin, Alfred Sears, Dr. Michael Darville, Clay Sweeting, Keith Bell, Wayne Monroe, JoBeth Colby Davis, Ginger Moxie, Mario Boleg, Jomo Campbell, Basil McIntosh, Miles LaRoda, Pia Glover Rowe, Lisa Ramming, Zane Lightbourne, Dr. Hubert Minnis, Jamal Strawn, John Pinder, Marcus Roll, Leon Lundy, Kirk Cornish, Wade Watson, Leonardo Lightbourne, Leslie Miller Bryce, Leroy Major, Sylvanus Petty, Michael Bonnaby, Michael Pintard, James Kwesi Thompson, Aram Lewis, Shannon Dawn Cartwright, Adrian Gibson, Adrian White, Kingsley Smith.
Good morning, honorable members. This morning is my pleasure to welcome members of the National Youth Parliamentarians, consisting of members of parliament and youth senators. With them this morning is their director, Sandina Neely, and youth officer, Lauren Hasty. Let's give them a House of Assembly welcome. Welcome to the House of Assembly. We'll now formally go down the order of business as we conduct the people's business. Introduction and swearing in of new members. Soon. Laying of documents by ministers. Statement and communication by ministers. Laying of document by ministers. Statements. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Carmichael.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. Madam Speaker, it gives me great pleasure as Minister of Housing and Urban Renewal to report to this honorable House on a truly inspiring event that reflects the very heart and purpose of the Urban Renewal Program. Last evening at the First Baptist Church, Market Street, the Urban Renewal Authority hosted a ceremony that went beyond the simple act of distributing eyeglasses. It was a celebration of vision, both literal and figurative, a celebration of opportunity, empowerment, and community partnership. Madam Speaker, this initiative stemmed from the Urban Renewal Authority's Eye Care Examination Project held on September 13, 2025. During this exercise, a total of 150 students from across New Providence underwent comprehensive eye examinations. Of that number, 25 were identified with vision challenges related primarily to refractive errors such as nearsightedness and, of course, farsightedness. I am delighted to report that last evening, each of the 25 deserving students received their prescription eyeglasses free of charge. These eyeglasses, Madam Speaker, are far more than corrective lenses. They represent a bridge to learning, confidence, and opportunity. This program, Madam Speaker, was carefully designed to ensure that our children, particularly those from the inner city community, are not left behind due to undetected vision issues. When a child can see clearly, they can read, they can learn, and participate fully in the classroom. By addressing this often overlooked barrier to academic success, we are helping to unlock their full potential and set them on a path of achievement. This initiative stands as a living expression of this Davis-led administration blueprint for change, which calls for inclusive, people-centered development and the empowerment of Bahamians in every community. Through urban renewal, we are giving tangible meaning to that vision, ensuring that the promise of equity, opportunity, and access is not just spoken of, but seen and experienced to those who need it most. Madam Speaker, this initiative could not have been possible without the spirit of collaboration that lies at the core of urban renewal. I wish to place on record my profound gratitude, therefore, that is my gratitude and that of the Minister of State, the Honorable Lisa Rami, our partners who made this a reality. Special thanks are extended to Dr. Anita Brown, who led the eye care team with professionalism and compassion, and to Dr. Charlene Wallace, Dr. Keisha Sands, and Dr. Richard Knowles, and of course, the Society of Nurses and the dedicated staff of the Optical and Sands Eye Care, whose service and expertise were invaluable. We are also deeply appreciative to Dr. Rhonda LeBlanc and her agency in South Florida, whose generous contribution of more than 200 eyeglass frames, along with discounted lenses and installation services, helped bring this vision to a reality. Madam Speaker, allow me to also commend the co-chairs, the Right Honorable Dr. Algernon Allen and Dr. Diana Francis, who are at the forefront of these efforts, providing steadfast leadership and vision. I also wish to thank my cabinet and parliamentary colleagues, along with those who participated in the ceremony, for their support and encouragement. Their presence underscored the shared commitment of this administration to advancing the well-being of our people through tangible, community-driven initiatives. And Madam Speaker, let me say, from the Minister of National Security last night, he indicated that we also have to get our ears checked. So I want to issue an appeal to those ENT specialist doctors out there, come and partner with us and let us ensure that our children can see and hear. I also wish, Madam Speaker, to commend the Director, Mr. Stephen Dean, and Deputy Director, Lily Mae Longley, for their outstanding leadership and coordination. The unwavering commitment, Madam Speaker, ensured that this project was executed with excellence and, of course, with great care. Madam Speaker, it was a joy to witness the expressions of gratitude and excitement on the faces of both the children and their parents as they received their eyeglasses. That moment spoke volumes. It reflected hope, relief, and a deep appreciation of families who recognize the impact that clear vision will have on their children's education and overall development. And as I indicated, Madam Speaker, this was a collaborative effort. And I see, Madam Speaker, we have a very well-known talk show host in the audience, in the person of Ortland H. Bodie. And so, Madam Speaker, I would like to issue a clarion call to him and all other talk show hosts to please get the message out there that we need to partner with Urban Renewal to ensure that we are able to do all of these programs. Madam Speaker, the Urban Renewal Authority remains resolute in its mission to uplift communities, remove barriers to progress, and ensure that every human child, regardless of circumstance, has access to the tools and opportunities necessary to thrive. And Madam Speaker, the persons who received the free eyeglasses last night came from Bain and Grantstown, Bamboo Town, Carmichael, Centerville, Elizabeth, Angleston, Fort Charlotte, Fox Hill, Freetown, Marathon, Nassau Village, Pinewood, St. Barnabas, Tall Pines, and of course, Yamacraw. So we covered the entire New Providence area.
Very good.
Madam Speaker, plans are already in motion to extend this initiative to Grand Bahama and every family island. We want to ensure that the gift of sight and the power of education reaches every student throughout our beloved Commonwealth.
Awesome.
This, Madam Speaker, under this Davis-led administration,
Yes.
is urban renewal in full action,
Yes.
transforming lives, empowering families, and building stronger communities, one child at a time.
Yes.
May God continue to bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Order the document be brought up. Thank you. Order that the communication to lie on the table. Sure. Further statement and communication by ministers? The chair recognizes the honorable member for South and Central Andros.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And before I begin my communication, I want to join with you on behalf of the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Minister Mario Boleg, and in my acting capacity, firstly to thank Mrs. Neely and Ms. Hasty for their awesome leadership in the Ministry of Youth, but also, more importantly, to welcome and recognize the future leaders of this Parliament and of the country, our Youth in Parliament representatives, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise this morning to update this honorable House, and by extension the Bahamian, on the progress of Hurricane Melissa and the government's continued response. As of the latest forecast from the Department of Meteorology, Hurricane Melissa has weakened to a Category 2 storm. The system, which reached Category 5 intensity earlier this week, is now centered over Cuba, with strong feeder bands already affecting portions of our southern islands. Heavy rainfall, gusty winds, and power disruptions have been reported in parts of Inagua, Auckland, Crooked Island, and Mayaguana. Our regional neighbors in Jamaica have already felt Melissa's force, and reports coming from there confirm damaged hospitals, roof failures, widespread flooding, and extensive power outages. These impacts remind us that even a weakened hurricane retains the capacity to bring serious devastation. Madam Speaker, while the storm has lessened in strength, it remains a serious and dangerous system. Category 2 winds and the threat of flooding still pose real risks to life and we remain vigilant and on high alert. No one should take comfort in the downgrade. The danger has not passed, and the hours ahead will demand patience and caution from all of us. Evacuation operations have now been completed. Every resident who expressed a desire to leave and who was in the position to do so was moved. No one who sought assistance was left behind. Preliminary figures, Madam Speaker, indicate that 1,485 residents were evacuated before the suspension of air operations. This was one of the largest and most complex pre-landfall evacuation efforts in recent national history. It required discipline, coordination, and bravery. The Disaster Risk Management Authority, working through the National Disaster Emergency Operations Center and alongside its emergency support function partners, managed these operations with outstanding precision. From the first activation, the authority maintained constant coordination with Family Island administrators and local response teams. Madam Speaker, their leadership, professionalism, and foresight have kept this response steady and effective. Madam Speaker, I must again pay tribute to Bahamas Air, Pineapple Air, and Blessings Air. Their pilots, ground crews, and operations teams were relentless in their service, carrying our people to safety under tremendous pressure. They were the backbone of the airlift, and they did so with the grace and courage, Madam Speaker. We also acknowledge the collaboration of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Department of Aviation, the Department of Social Services, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, the Airport Authority, the Nassau Airport Development Company, the Bahamas Air Navigation Services Authority, and the Civil Aviation Authority of the Bahamas, as well as our partners in the Embassy of the United States and the U.S. Coast Guard. Together, these agencies and institutions exemplify the best of partnership in service to the Bahamian people. To our brothers and sisters in the southeastern islands, where conditions are already deteriorating, I urge you to remain indoors and shelter in a fortified location. The time for movement has ended. Stay in place, keep communication lines open, and do not venture out until the all clear has been given. To residents of islands further north that remain under hurricane warning, including Long Island, Rum Cay, San Salvador, and portions of central Bahamas, I echo the official guidance, which is to complete all preparations now. Secure your property, shelter in place, or move to a designated shelter if necessary, but please do stay off the roads and once conditions deteriorate. Madam Speaker, this response has been marked by careful planning and steady coordination. Our shelters are staffed and supplied, our communication systems remain active, our island administrators and emergency teams continue to provide updates from the field. Every action taken has been guided by one principle: the safety of our Bahamian people. Even as we face this reduced but still dangerous storm, let us hold to our faith and our discipline. Let us remember that resilience is not only the ability to endure, but to endure together. Hurricane Melissa may have weakened, but our vigilance has not. Our readiness remains firm, and our spirit is unshaken. Madam Speaker, may God continue to protect the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and guide us safely through the passing of this storm. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Ordered that the communication be brought up. Thank you. Order the communication do lie on the table. Further statement, communication by ministers. The chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
Madam Speaker, with your leave, if I may just make a short oral communication to this House and to this country. Madam Speaker, I rise as the Minister responsible for national security for a very simple task, and that is to acknowledge and to thank members of the Royal Bahamas Police Force who have determined to remain on their posts notwithstanding the evacuation order. And they are in Cricket Island, ASP Gordon, Sergeant Glinton, and Sergeant Richardson. In Acklands, Corporal Johnson, and in Inagua, PC 526 Johnson. I would also, Madam Speaker, wish to acknowledge and thank the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Marines deployed to HMBS Matthewtown, Inagua, and HMBS Gunpoint, Ragged Island, who have remained in place. Madam Speaker, I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the following brave Marines who have been deployed as an advance team. The Cricket Island, Madam Speaker, Petty Officer Randy Lavarity, who is in charge of the team, Leading Seaman Roderick Carroll, Able Marine James Neely, Marine Seaman Jonathan Tellis Nord, Able Marine William Murphy, and Able Marine Tamiko Culmer. Deployed to Acklands, Madam Speaker, Petty Officer Demetrius Clark, in charge of the team, Leading Mechanic Nathaniel Williams, Marine Mechanic Maverick DeVoe, Marine Seaman Umberto Black, Marine Seaman Fowler Forbes, Marine Seaman Jaden Fowler, and deployed to Meguana, Madam Speaker, Chief Petty Officer Gary Roll in charge, Leading Seaman Devon Duncombe, Marine Seaman Chad Adderley, Able Marine Ashton Kerr, Able Marine Jason Belazaire, and Marine Seaman Sean Clark. Madam Speaker, they have been deployed going in as persons have left. They are to be commended, Madam Speaker, and as we are in a recruitment exercise, we seek more brave men and women who are prepared to go in when others leave. I ask, Madam Speaker, that the country keeps them in prayers as well as all residents who remained in the area.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Further statements and communications?
No further statement and communication.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Communications by the clerk. Messages from the Governor General. Messages from the Senate. Motion for leave of absence, leave to resign seat and new writs. Presentation of petitions. Presentations of reports of committees. Adoption of reports of committees. First reading of bills. Yeah, I had laying of documents. Y'all ain't listening this morning. I don't know what's going on.
Madam Speaker,
We revert back to laying of documents by ministers.
I do.
And
I
that
do
actually
appreciate-
comes before statement and communication by ministers.
Thank you, Madam Speaker,
The chair
for
recognizes the honourable member for Karen Rumkey and
accommodating my lapses.
We are suitably chastised.
Oh yes, yes. As I'm reminded, I've been suitably chastised. I was distracted. and I do accept the chastisement, Madam
Yes, sir.
Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg leave to lay on the table of the House a copy of the Public Debt Management, Bahamas Registered Stock Number 2, 2027 and 2028, Directions 2025.
Thank you, honourable member. Order the document be brought up. Order the document do lie on the table. Further layer of documents.
Madam Speaker, I beg leave to lay on the table of the House a copy of the Public Debt Management, Bahamas Coupon Bond 2025, Directions 2025.
Thank you, honourable member. Order the document be brought up. Order the document do lie on the table. Further lay.
Madam Speaker, beg leave to lay on the table of the House a copy of the Public Debt Management, Bahamas Registered Stock, 2029, 2031, 2032, 2036, 2049, and 2054, Directions 2025.
Thank you, honourable member. Order the document be brought up. Thank you. Order the document do lie on the table. Further laying of documents by ministers. The chair recognizes the honourable member for
Yes,
freedom.
yes, Madam Speaker, I wasn't
need to
paying
suitably
attention.
chastise you.
Yes, yes, Madam Speaker. And of all people, I should
You
have been
shouldn't
paying
be. You sit
attention.
closest.
Yes, Madam Speaker,
Honourable member Carmichael, we're going to have the heirs voice on this.
I'm happy you made that excuse for me, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg leave to lay on the table of the House a copy of two documents. The first is the Fiscal Responsibility Council of the Bahamas Mid-Year Budget FRC Report dated March 31st, 2025.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Order the document be brought up. Thank you. Order the document to lie on the table. Further laying?
Second, Madam Speaker, and final document is the Securities Commission of the Bahamas Annual Report for 2024.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Order the document be brought up. Thank you. Order the document to lie on the table. Further laying of documents? Thank you, Honourable Member. We will now revert back to first reading of bills. Pay attention, pay attention.
No first reading, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honourable members. Second reading middle bills. The chair recognizes the honourable member for Canada and San Salvador.
Madam Speaker, this morning is distractive. I don't know what is in there, but colonized, that's what's in there? Oh, I see, it's distractive.
I see one in here.
Madam Speaker, I beg leave to move for the second reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act. Madam Speaker, as I rise today, I am reminded of how far our nation has come in strengthening our financial services sector and restoring our standing in the world. When this administration took office in 2021, our international reputation had suffered self-inflicted blows thanks to poor decision-making by our predecessor. We inherited a nation that was hurtling toward blacklisting and graylisting. Blacklists and graylists. We encountered international relationships that were not fully realized. And even worse, our predecessors had a track record of publicly disparaging the Bahamas on the world stage, talking bad about us. We were following an administration that spoke poorly of its own people and institutions, which weakened global confidence and investor trust. If you go around the world saying that the Bahamas and its people are corrupt, what do you expect people to think about us? Right? Fortunately, Madam Speaker, where our predecessors saw negativity, we saw potential. Where they gave in to pessimism, we found purpose. Where they allowed blacklists to hinder us, we saw opportunities to rebuild and to rise. From the beginning, this administration made it a priority to repair our international standing through steady work and consistent engagement. We were reminded of what consistency brings this morning in our devotions. We re-engaged and redoubled our efforts in coordination with international partners like the OECD, the European Union, and the Financial Action Task Force. Rebuilding trust through transparency, dialogue, and decisive action. That is how we got off the blacklists and the gray lists. We strengthen the integrity of our compliance regime by implementing rigorous anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism standards. And we modernize reporting frameworks and enhance information exchange across jurisdictions. These efforts produced positive results. We secured the removal of the Bahamas from blacklists, and we restored our reputation as a cooperative and credible jurisdiction. In doing so, we made a clear statement to the world that the Bahamas is ready, able, and willing to set the highest standard for financial services and investments. The results speak for themselves. Our financial services industry is booming, and we are now expanding our reach to previously untapped markets. In fact, we are hosting the first ever Bahamas Asia Forum 2 weeks from now, where investors in Asia will learn all about the advantages of investing and managing wealth in the Bahamas. We have brought in billions and billions in investments throughout our archipelago. We have grown the economy year after year, and we have strengthened the government's fiscal standing, taking this nation from record high deficits and record debt to GDP to the lowest debt to GDP ratio we have seen in years, and our first ever projected budgetary surplus for this fiscal year. The international agencies have seen this progress. They have responded with credit upgrades and positive previews. And talking about credit upgrades, recalling that within weeks after we were elected, we encountered a downgrade, but now we are upgraded. Moody's gave us our first positive outlook in over 17 years. The IMF called our recovery remarkable. More good news is coming in each day as we turn the page on the failures of our predecessors. But, Madam Speaker, our work did not stop with the repair of our reputation. We also identified a status quo within the bodies that create current global standards that we could not accept. For too long, small nations like ours have been subject to international rules written without our input. These rules often fail to account for our realities and our sovereignty. In response, we have championed the call for a United Nations Convention on International Tax Cooperation. We championed that call, ensuring that every country, large or small, has a seat and a voice in shaping international tax and compliance standards. As a result, we've been given access to discussions where we previously had no voice. Our Attorney General now sits on the UN committee with direct responsibility for creating the future of international tax cooperation. This was a direct result of our advocacy as a credible voice aligned with regional and international partners to fight for a fairer future for small island financial services industry jurisdictions. At the same time, we are fighting for change on other fronts as we tackle the most pressing issues facing us that necessitate action on a global scale. Climate change is one of those priorities. I would like to take a moment, Madam Speaker, to acknowledge the destruction caused by Hurricane Melissa across our region. This powerful superstorm has brought hardship to many of our Caribbean brothers and sisters, particularly the people of Jamaica and now Cuba. We extend our solidarity to them in their time of need, just as they stood with us in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian. The Caribbean is a family, and in moments like these, that truth becomes clear. When one of us hurts, we all feel the pain. To the people of the southeastern Bahamas, we are now enduring the initial impacts. To the people of southeastern Bahamas, for now enduring the initial impacts from this storm. I want to assure you that your government stands with you. Relevant agencies are mobilized to provide relief and support, and we will continue to monitor the situation closely. As Bahamians, we know the toll of these storms, yet we also know the resilience of our people. We are prepared for this moment, and one thing is certain: whatever happens, we will rebuild, recover, and we will rise again. Hurricane Melissa is a stark reminder that climate change is not a distant threat. It is a present and pressing reality. We will continue advocating for climate justice on the world stage, demanding fair financing, and joining with other small island states to insist that the global community acts with urgency, compassion, and fairness. I am confident that we will get results from our advocacy. Yes. You see, Madam Speaker, our progress in restoring our nation's standing comes from a belief that the Bahamas is capable, that the Bahamas is worthy, and the Bahamas is ready to lead. In this era, we need leaders who see the best in us and the best for us. That perspective drives our administration. It fuels our optimism and our belief that our voice will be heard, our actions will be felt, and our consistent efforts will make a difference for the Bahamas and small island states everywhere. Madam Speaker, and that is why today, when it comes to financial sector compliance, the Bahamas stands among an elite group of nations. We were the 6th country in the world to be declared compliant with all 40 factor recommendations. Earlier this year, we passed a compendium of financial services laws that further strengthen our compliance with both the factor and OECD standards. This administration sees compliance as a competitive advantage. It is a mark of excellence and discipline that reinforces our global credibility. When investors choose the Bahamas in 2025, they are choosing a nation with no blacklists to worry about, a strong and respected global standing, and an economy that is growing year after year. They are choosing a jurisdiction that meets the highest standards, and a country with no lingering questions and no clouds over its reputation. There's a bright future ahead of us. That brings us to the bill before us today, the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment, number 2, Bill 2025. Madam Speaker, the Bahamas underwent the second round of effectiveness assessment by the OECD during the month of July 2025. The on-site assessment took place at the Ministry of Finance's Legal and Regulatory Affairs Unit. The assessment team, together with representatives from the Securities Commission, Central Bank, Insurance Commission, and other key stakeholders, engaged in meaningful dialogue regarding the Bahamas' implementation of the standard for automatic exchange of financial account information. The discussions focus on the implementation of an effective administrative compliance framework. When the Bahamas made a commitment to implement the standard for the automatic exchange of financial account information in 2014, we agreed to join forces and cooperate with partner jurisdictions in the fight against tax evasion. The commitment process to implement the standard for the exchange involved several building blocks. So over the past 11 years, the Bahamas has been putting the blocks in place to build a formidable exchange regime capable of detecting illicit financial flows and tax evasion schemes that undermine revenue collection. In 2016, the Bahamas' domestic legislative framework was implemented with the enactment of the automatic exchange of financial information in 2016, as I indicated. Following that, regulations followed in 2017. We later signed the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters on the 15th of December 2017, and the Multilateral Component Authority Agreement on the 13th of December 2017. However, Madam Speaker, the standard not only calls for a strong legislative framework, but also calls for an effective administrative compliance framework to be in place. This framework enables us to monitor and supervise individuals and financial institutions to ensure adherence and compliance with the law, prevent circumvention of the standard administered, and enforce penalties for non-compliance and make sure taxpayers fulfill their obligations. During the on-site assessment, the assessment team recognized that the Bahamas has a CRS, that's the Common Reporting Standard, and the automatic exchange of information compliance strategy in place. So they found that we have that in place, which is still evolving, but noted that we need to further develop our administrative compliance framework. The amendments we are debating today essentially empower a designated supervisory authority to charge with the responsibility of conducting compliance and investigation activities, such as audits and on-site visits to financial institutions, to ensure that they are reporting in a timely manner to inspect and verify documents and records. The compliance activities also extend to ensuring that self-certifications are being collected and that the information reported in the CRS and the Automatic Exchange Information Reporting portal is correct and accurate. The Bahamas is also under an obligation to ensure that financial institutions and persons are aware of the potential circumvention schemes, including the risk presented by citizenship by investment and residence by investment schemes, to prevent misuse and address it when detected. Madam Speaker, building an effective compliance strategy has its challenges and may seem like a mammoth task. But the designated supervisory authorities identified by this bill, consisting of key regulatory bodies like the Central Bank of the Bahamas, the Securities Commission of the Bahamas, and the Insurance Commission of the Bahamas, are equipped with the skill and knowledge to help safeguard the integrity of the taxation system. They will be provided with the necessary powers via this amendment, by this amendment to the bill. That, in essence, is the major change we're introducing through this bill. It is noteworthy, however, to mention that the bill also seeks to amend the existing Section 13 on what is called excluded accounts to ensure that the description of the said accounts aligns with the Common Reporting Standards, that's the CRS that I spoke about. The bill provides that administrative penalties collected under the Principal Act must be paid into the consolidated fund. In addition, the bill also provides for appeals whereby an aggrieved person may appeal decisions made under the Act to the Supreme Court. Madam Speaker, with approximately 160 jurisdictions involved and participating in the OECD's Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of Information for Tax Purposes, the Bahamas will continue to honor the commitments made in 2014 and carry on the building of relationships and trusts among other jurisdictions. Together, these provisions enhance regulatory clarity, strengthen oversight, and improve the overall administration of the Act. Madam Speaker, this administration remains committed to maintaining and strengthening our AML, CFT, CPF frameworks, our sectoral regulations, and our reputation for transparency and good governance. We are determined to uphold the highest standards in financial services. The Bahamas has proven that a small nation can lead the way, and we have shown that compliance and growth can advance together. Today, when the Bahamas speaks on a global stage, we do so with credibility as one of the most successfully compliant nations in the world. As we continue to chart our course as a global leader in financial services, we will remain guided by our conviction that the best days for our financial services industry, our economy, and our people still lie ahead of us. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Is there a seconder? The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Nassau Village. Got to get his ass too.
Morning, Madam Speaker, colleagues. Madam Speaker, before I begin, I wish to extend condolences to the Newry family in Gleniston Gardens on the loss of a pivotal figure in the community. Madam Speaker, it brings joy to my heart to see the young people of the Youth Parliament in the gallery today, because they all aspire to be where we are, and I think we should recognize them formally once again. Madam Speaker, I see young faces and I see some not so young faces who also aspire to be where we are. But the action man is who we're going with, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there's an age-old saying that says, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Hurricane Melissa has taught us that the Bahamas is ready. The DRM is fully capable, activated, and ensuring the safety of all Bahamians, and I wish to commend my colleague from South and Central Andros for his due diligence. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, when we assumed office, one of the main mandates was to ensure security and safety. Our government started off by building hurricane shelters, Madam Speaker. Nassau Village was the prototype for these shelters. And when the time came, Madam Speaker, Nassau Village answered the call. We currently house 38 members, 38 evacuees in the constituency of Nassau Village in our community shelter that has transitioned to a hurricane shelter. Madam Speaker, this is what our government meant when we said we're going to safeguard Bahamians and we are prepared for the job ahead of us. Madam Speaker, there are a number of shelters being built. You have Centerville, you have Mount Moriah, you have Angliston, you have Pinewood on the way. So, you know, this is a government that sees and understands what's ahead of us. Madam Speaker, I was heartened to hear about our first responders who decided to 10 posts, stay where they were needed, and I wish to extend to them prayers on behalf of the entire Nassau Village for their bravery and their courage to duty, Madam Speaker. But to the crux of the matter, Madam Speaker, I'm always pleased, and I rise on behalf of the good members and constituents of the Nassau Village constituency. And as a loyal member of the Progressive Liberal Party, Madam Speaker, the party of national progress, the party of social justice, the party of economic transformation, Madam Speaker, I'm a loyal member. I am a PLP. Madam Speaker, I stand today in full support of the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Bill. Madam Speaker, the bill is not merely a technical document. It's not merely a technical amendment. It is a declaration that the Bahamas continues to uphold the highest standards of financial integrity and transparency, principles that define the Progressive Liberal Party's commitment to good governance and responsible leadership, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this bill is not merely a technical amendment. As I said before, our government sees this and we understand the task for the day, Madam Speaker. Under the visionary leadership of our Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis, we understand that these are the amendments needed to continue to move our country forward with confidence, competence, and compassion. Madam Speaker, oftentimes we speak about financial bills and technical bills, and we ask ourselves, what about the regulations? What about the regulatory framework? Madam Speaker, as I look through the bill, and I check Clause 2, it redefines the supervisory authority, naming the central bank, the Securities Commission, the Insurance Commission, and the Compliance Commission as the primary regulators. Madam Speaker, this is no mere detail. This is smart governance, Madam Speaker. It ensures that the bodies with the expertise and infrastructure needed to monitor financial institutions are clearly empowered through this very act. Madam Speaker, the PLP believes in empowering Bahamians, in building strong, capable national institutions that can stand shoulder to shoulder with the world. Madam Speaker, the PM stated that the Bahamas is one of a few nations completely compliant with OECD standards, Madam Speaker. By delegating functions to the aforementioned agencies, we see these supervisory authorities. The bill creates agility, Madam Speaker, and efficiency in how we regulate and respond to emergent challenges. It ensures that the Bahamas remains competitive, compliant, and credible. That, Madam Speaker, that is the PLP's brand of leadership, building systems that serve people and strengthen the state. Madam Speaker, when we look further into the bill, Clause 5 states that all administrative penalties collected under the Act go directly into the Consolidated Fund. Madam Speaker, that is the PLP way. Transparency, accountability, and fairness in the use of the people's money, Madam Speaker. It means that every dollar collected through enforcement will be accounted for and redirected into the national treasury. Madam Speaker, the same treasury that deals with programs, national development, from Beantown to Nassau Village, Madam Speaker. This is the difference between talking about accountability and practicing accountability. Madam Speaker, our party, the PLP party, continues to demonstrate that governance must be open, honest, and always in service to the Bahamian people. Madam Speaker, I especially commend the introduction of the new appeals provision in Section 15D, which allows any person who may feel aggrieved by a decision of the competent authority to appeal to the Supreme Court. This is fairness in action, Madam Speaker. It shows that while we are serious about compliance, we are equally committed to justice. Madam Speaker, the Progressive Liberal Party has always stood on the principle that strong governance must never, never come at the expense of fairness. Madam Speaker, this clause ensures that regulation is accompanied by due process and that Bahamians and investors alike can have confidence in our legal and regulatory systems. Madam Speaker, this is how we build trust, not only with the world, but with our own people. Madam Speaker, I delved further into the bill, and I took a keen interest in Clause 4. It updates the definition of excluded accounts, Madam Speaker, to ensure consistency with the Common Reporting Standards, CRS, the global standard for automatic exchange of financial information. This update, Madam Speaker, may seem technical in nature, but it is crucial. It is pivotal. It signals that the Bahamas is aligned with global norms, compliant with international obligations, and proactive in maintaining its good standing. Madam Speaker, under our government, the Bahamas is not being dragged along by global standard. We are walking stride and stride with them. We are showing that we can maintain our competitive edge, Madam Speaker, while upholding the highest standards of integrity. That is the essence of this Davis administration, Madam Speaker. Our approach is modernize, stabilize, and elevate. Madam Speaker, I heard the member for Marco City say that he, if elected to office, would right-size the public service. Now, I don't know what this quite means, Madam Speaker, but I believe that all members, and those under the sound of my voice, can infer what that means, Madam Speaker. It probably means job losses. Madam Speaker, I want to speak directly to the people of Nassau Village and to Bahamians across this country. When we strengthen our financial systems, we are not only protecting our international reputation, Madam Speaker, we are protecting you. We are protecting Bahamian jobs in banking. We are protecting Bahamian jobs in insurance. We are protecting Bahamian jobs in accounting and in law, Madam Speaker. We are protecting the values of your savings, the stability of your dollar, and the capacity of a government to invest in your future. Madam Speaker, we remain and maintain our international confidence. We keep the doors open for investment, for trade, and for opportunity, Madam Speaker. So yes, this particular bill, Madam Speaker, at its core, is the people's bill. Because when our economy is strong, Madam Speaker, our communities thrive. When our reputation is solid, Madam Speaker, our people stand taller. And Madam Speaker, the people of Nassau Village, the hardworking people of Nassau Village, take great pleasure in seconding this pivotal and monumental amendment to the bill. Nassau Village is proudly in support and proudly seconds the bill. Thank you.
It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a second time and committed. A bill for an act to amend the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act. As many, the chair recognizes the honorable member for St. Anne's.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's my pleasure to be with you. And since you have let the public know I must have been away, I will take a moment to extend my gratitude to the great service of our clerks team by presenting each one of the members with a pen from the Interparliamentary Union Conference in Geneva. And Madam Speaker, for the senior persons, a pin for the clerk. And you know I never forget about you, my dear. Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The feeling is mutual. So, Madam Speaker, we have Hurricane Melissa coming up on our southern islands, out of respect to those in our far-reaching places, as well as my number opposite leader of government and business who has matters of national security to attend to. I'm going to be brief. So brief, Madam Speaker, that this little item contains my entire speech. Before I get into that, though, Madam Speaker, I'd like to recognize those members of the Youth in Parliament program under the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, led by Sandina Neely, as well as the minister not currently in the House today. It's always a pleasure to see their great contributions, well prepared and well presented and clearly spoken. Honestly, Madam Speaker, I see so many youth in Parliament that make a better contribution in their brief time here than several of the members from the backbench, Madam Speaker, on the government side. But all joking aside, Madam Speaker, all joking aside, Madam Speaker, we have much to look forward to in this great Commonwealth, and whichever political side you find yourself on, as is evident by the recent passing of the late Minister Vaughn Miller, you can at one time be an FNM and you can at another time be a PLP, but you'll always be Bahamian. So God bless and may God protect each and every one of you until you lead this country to greater heights when your time comes. Madam Speaker, we are debating the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Bill Today, this is the Amendment Bill number 2, which means that in this year alone, we have amended the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Bill already. Now, that is historic, Madam Speaker. It's also an indication that this government is moving haphazardly because they couldn't get it done the first time around. They had to come at it a second time, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, to be honest with you, when I heard the contribution from the mover, Madam Speaker, I said it seems to me that it is only the members of this current government that do not see that the new day is now done. Madam Speaker, when it comes to our financial services industry, they appear to be walking backwards. There is a continued regression of a story as to the history of our financial services industry that commenced in 2021. Once again, we hear about how we were blacklisted. What we do not hear, Madam Speaker, and that we were blacklisted by the actions of the FNM. What we do not hear was that there was more than one review during the COVID period when we were placed on the blacklisting. What we do not hear is that we were off the blacklisting by January of 2022. That is within months, Madam Speaker, of the New Day government coming into the House of Assembly. So within months, elected September, open Parliament October 6th, and in January, the Attorney General was at the opening of the legal year advising that we have been removed from the EU blacklisting. Yet, Madam Speaker, we keep hearing about the FNM putting us in this bad place, the FNM having us on a blacklisting for years. I've spoken to this Honourable House before, Madam Speaker, and I've even asked questions on some of the issues that again were raised today. It is a regurgitation, Madam Speaker. It's not a forward direction for our nation. I've spoken in this Honourable House, Madam Speaker, before about the blacklisting, and the Guardian newspaper even carried the story, Madam Speaker, on October 26 of 2023. Government did not do enough to keep Bahamas off blacklist. Two of the things that I said back in October of 2023, Madam Speaker, was that in May of 2022, this administration, this PLP government administration, was notified that after being taken off the blacklist in January of 2022, there were issues, and we were going to be placed on the gray list. The gray list is the warning, get your act together or you're going to be blacklisted. Between May of 2022 and October of 2022, nothing significant was done. And that is almost a full year, because in October of 2022, we were placed on the EU blacklist. And by October of 2023, that's now 2 years later, we remained on the blacklist, all under this so-said self-caring, proactive PLP administration, Madam Speaker. So I would just like to get the facts straight. And that's the reason why I continuously say, and what my point is on this debate today, that when it comes to financial services, the PLP administration is continuously walking backwards, regurgitating history, Madam Speaker. And when I saw the seconder stand up, Madam Speaker, I said an old lie told by a young man is still an old lie, Madam Speaker. So an old lie told by a young man is still an old lie, Madam Speaker. You can't bring youth into this House and say something that somebody else has said multiple times before.
We can't use, it's unparliamentary to use the word lie. Okay, you're indicating that the honourable member is a liar, so I'm going to strike that from the record. You could use the word untruth, but not the word lie. Okay?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honourable member.
So an untruth told by a young man, Madam Speaker, is still an untruth. You can't polish up an untruth, Madam Speaker, by giving a new voice to it. What you need to do, Madam Speaker, is let the new voices of this country take the country into a brighter future, Madam Speaker, and that's what the FNM is planning to do under the leadership of Michael C. Pintard, and that's what the FNM is planning to do under the future candidacy and election of Mr. Brian Brown in the great constituency of Golden Isles.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Yamaha.
Madam Speaker, the member for St. Anne's is a bit inaccurate, well, highly inaccurate with a lot of what he said earlier, or misleading us best. And I stand to put in the record a few facts that have been demonstrated over and repeatedly by the administration under under the last administration. The issue of blacklisting, when it was voiced in this House, was carried by the opposition over and repeatedly. They championed almost this idea of the Bahamas being blacklisted because they were happy, it seemed, that this was happening under the administration, the Davis administration. In November 12th of 2019, this is under the administration, this is an online press dated 2019, November 12th. The Bahamas get set to get blacklisted once again, a third time under the Minnis government. All right, and the article goes on to say, the PM jets off today and takes a huge Gussie Mae delegation, leaves for Brussels as the Bahamas is about to get blacklisted and downgraded at the same time. Nassau, the Bahamas, the Most Honorable Hubert Minnis, ON MP, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, departs for Brussels, Belgium, from the 12th to the 15th of November 2019 with a delegation, the Most Honorable Prime Minister, and they named the other persons who were part of the delegation. The government has not met the EU requirement, and blacklisting is about to come down on the Bahamas once again. The PM believes a strong presence will cause EU leaders to change their minds. The next article I want to bring to the attention of this House and the misleading statements by St. Anne's is also documented and is in July 31st, 2000. And this article says, the following press release issued by the Cabinet Office on July 13 in respect of the latest developments and actions currently being taken in response to the blacklisting of the Bahamas by the FATF and the FinCEN advisory issued that week by the United States Treasury Department. The Cabinet today announced that following upon the blacklisting of the Bahamas and the Financial Action Task Force as one of the 15 countries deemed to be non-cooperating in the fight against money laundering. And the article goes on. So this member is misleading, and he is actually laying alternative facts. The issues of blacklisting is carried by the members on the other side when it happened. Now that the country is upgraded, the enthusiasm about the change of the grading status of the Bahamas is not there. They are still in this doom and gloom, and they should be celebrating with the country the progress that we have made after coming off a financial cliff, rather than just now praising again. They're running on blacklisting, and the Prime Minister just announced that we've been upgraded. So they're never going to mention and be enthusiastic. But I want to bring to attention of the House that's not only misleading, but it has an agenda attached to it, which is doom and gloom from the beginning. Cheer for the Bahamas and stop trying to find things to criticize.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for St. Barnabas.
Madam Speaker, I didn't want to interrupt the member who stood on a point of order. But the member, in his response just now, the member for Yamcraw, he was disingenuous. Because this whole topic, Madam Speaker, about blacklisting, both governments have experienced the Bahamas being blacklisted over the decades, right? So what are we doing here? Madam Speaker, so let us have a discussion about how we continue to assert our sovereignty, right? And fight for the Bahamas and tell the OECD and the European Union to take their foot off the necks of the Bahamian people instead of playing politics, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador.
I'll be the first to acknowledge this issue of blacklisting. This is not an FNM or PLP issue. This is a national issue. And anyone who would have followed my comments on this issue would recognize from day one, from 2000, when the assault began on offshore jurisdictions. Right? Unfortunately, not all of us recognize it as a national issue that we should join forces with. Right? And I'm happy to see that the member for St. Barnabas quotes me, right? But, I thank you, but you should attribute the comment to me. When I was in Brussels and told the European Union to take their knees off our neck, all the leaders of the European Union. Yeah, no, but say, right? So I credit you for recognizing what I've been fighting on the international stage for. In Cuba, right, at CELAC, I had to say the same thing. Right, at the UN, I wrote the United Nations complaining about the EU and OECD. As a result of my complaint and meeting with the Secretary General, Guterres, on this issue of how unfair it is for small island development states, particularly ours, that some international body, I urged them to take it over. And now they are now creating a new tax regime that will be administered by the UN and our own Attorney General is on that committee, helping to craft that situation. That wasn't a PLP matter, EFTA matter. That was a national matter. So we are making our presence felt, and we are doing and fighting for the Bahamian people and our industries. And you don't fight them by sitting at home if you don't see them face to face. Right? And all of them cringed, and they continue to cringe. When I spoke at the UN, I told them there's a dark side. You could quote this too. There's a dark side to the blacklisting. But there's something dark about this blacklisting. Because when you look at it, and I pointed out to them, when you look at it, look at who are targeted. Who are targeted? Former colonies of European countries, small island developing states. And what else I said? I'm talking about the commonalities of the targeted countries. Right? They're all black-led governments. There's a dark side to it. Right? That's what has pricked the conscience of the international community. And I think all that helped to push us to move this now away from the EU. They might be doing their own thing, because the member from St. Anne's, remember he's talking about that we were still on France's blacklist. This is just last year, right? The European Union took us off. France is a part of the European Union, but they still had this blacklist. And we for no reason. When you are a country, and this is what we have to see as a country, right? And as I would have said in my comments, both sides have been responding to the issues that may cause us to be on the blacklist. All of us have, and I said that. Because the goalposts keep moving. They came and looked at us, assessed us recently, and they said, well, look, we see this, we see that, we see that. Because they sometimes take the time to appreciate our own regime, our constitutional construct. And so we attempt to, and so amendments don't come because we made some error or did not think about it. It's because they come and say, well, look, they see something else. And to avoid going on the blacklist, you have to do this. And we can't afford to be on the blacklist. You see, Hurricane Melissa is going through our islands now. When you're on the blacklist, do you know that you make a claim for your insurance? Your reinsurers, who are situated, most of them are in some European country, you are penalized by 25% of your claim because you're on the blacklist. Those are, a lot of people don't, we don't have to go into all the details, but that is it. So your commentary, is correct, all right? And we need to, as I said, understand this as a national issue. and not just one. Now, I could talk about decisions made, and we could disagree on approaches, and we could disagree on how we think it ought to be addressed. But the bottom line has to be, principally, it is a matter for our country and our nation.
Let's hear from the DNA now.
The chair. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Kalani.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was not going to say anything now until I address the Parliament later this afternoon. But as the member of Yamacraw mentioned my name, I'm forced to say something. But I totally concur. It's not usual that I would agree with the Prime Minister. But I totally concur. Every government has faced blacklisting. Every Prime Minister or minister responsible would have had to travel to Europe to try and deal with it. And that will continue, Madam Speaker. Amendments will have to be made because the goalposts will continue to be changed. So regardless of who is in, they will experience blacklisting and they must make the necessary amendment. So I agreed, Prime Minister, this morning. I speak this afternoon. That's a different kettle of fish. So thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I could just refer to Yamacraw, the good gentleman seems to need to speak every time I speak, that I'm now certain if I sneezed, he would be the first one to say, bless you. Now, if you listen carefully, Madam Speaker, three persons spoke after I was in the middle of my contribution, and no one said anything new. The mover said that this was an F&M issue that they inherited 4 years ago, and they're still running on with that old untruth. Madam Speaker, the seconder belabored the point, and then the deputy for the Free National Movement set up and said it's both sides, which was my point. The minister stood up and said it was both sides, which was my point. And Yamacraw, Madam Speaker, you can refer to the Hansard if you want to recall what he said. I don't recall. But Madam Speaker, if I can get back to my contribution. So they are going about this in a haphazard way because historically, while administrations have to go and negotiate to keep us off the blacklisting, and through those negotiations or through the recommendations in the industry, there are amendments to the Automatic Exchange of Information Act. It's generally every 2 years. So the bill was passed in 2006. It was amended in 2017, but from then on, 2019, 2021, 2023, every 2 years. It's only under this administration that the bill has needed to be amended twice in any single year. And that's not, in my opinion, an example of an administration that has its finger on the pulse of this industry and is doing what is right when it is right. They seem to be reacting at the last time. And October, Madam Speaker, I think is a review period. So what is happening now? We're here debating while a natural disaster bears down on our southern islands. So you tell me, Madam Speaker, what is a priority for this government? This bill moving through the House today or giving full support to our family islands? This bill, Madam Speaker, may not be the priority, but it's definitely important. Now, Madam Speaker, we have to hope that this administration keeps us off the blacklisting, which we'll know later this year or maybe in January or February of 2022. But what's interesting, and this is meant to be a period of debate. This isn't meant to be a period of reflection in history. It's not even meant to be a period of name-calling, Madam Speaker, but you'll understand that when I do point my finger and call names, it's because the practice has been commenced by the government side prior to my standing on my feet, Madam Speaker. And the truth is not only one version, Madam Speaker, and that's why it's very important to have debate where you have two sides, in this case the opposition, myself, giving another side of the truth, Madam Speaker, so that the public as well as ourselves as legislators can do the right thing. What I didn't hear in the government's debate contribution on this bill was a clear understanding of why Section 2 of the bill is necessary. By Section 2 of the bill, it amends Section 2(1) of the Principal Act, and it says, is amended by deletion of the definition of designated supervisory authority and the substitution of the following. Designated supervisory authority means the Central Bank of the Bahamas, the Securities Commission of the Bahamas, the Insurance Commission of the Bahamas, and the Compliance Commission of the Bahamas. Now, Madam Speaker, did they tell us what the change was they made? No. Did they tell us why they needed to make this change to the definition of designated supervisory authority? No. Well, what was the change? What's the difference? Is this a new definition that wasn't in the bill when it was originally passed? No. This definition, Madam Speaker, by their own amendment in 2022, which passed with assent in November of 2022, had a previous defined term. Before, designated supervisory authority means the Central Bank of the Bahamas, the Securities Commission of the Bahamas, the Insurance Commission of the Bahamas, and the Gaming Board and the Compliance Commission. Why now? Why in 2022? Were they doing the hokey pokey with us? Why in 2022 did they put the Gaming Board in to the definition of designated supervisory authority? Put the Gaming Board in, and then in 2025, they take the Gaming Board out, they do the hokey pokey with the financial service industry, and they got it shook all about. Madam Speaker, what is going on with this definition? If the designated supervisory authority does not include the Gaming Board, why is it? Was the inclusion of the Gaming Board, Madam Speaker, a detriment to our wider financial services industry? Is that why they removed it? Can they please speak to that with their closer's contribution? Why was the Gaming Board removed? Is that the reason why this urgent bill had to go through the House of Assembly today? And Madam Speaker, with those few comments and notes, I'm going to conclude by extending my strongest prayers for those in Inagua, Meaguana, down in Long Island, Crooked Island, Acklands, as well as Long Island and Samana Key, that are all now facing the brunt of the hurricane. And while we would have read in the paper today that some in the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Marines are concerned with their provisions and with their accommodation down in Inagua, I think that we need to hold not only them in our prayers, Madam Speaker, but we need to hold all those Bahamians that actually stayed in those family islands despite the evacuation order and despite the planes, which may or may not have been sufficient to get everyone out. Yesterday, we heard a voice note that there wasn't sufficient transportation to Meaguana. We understand today from the responsible minister's contribution that that is no longer an issue, even though he didn't speak to it. There doesn't seem to be a transportation issue for any of our family islands. So hopefully when this is all done, we get good news, and we hear that the Disaster Risk Authority is providing supplies, that Urban Renewal is putting shingles back on the person's roofs, blue tarps, Madam Speaker, plywood, that any flooding areas are being addressed by necessary trenches being dealt, wells being dug. Madam Speaker, I expect we'll be back in a week's time, and by then I hope to hear a very positive report and not hear of any horror stories from all of the Bahamians that are facing Hurricane Melissa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member Asmini. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Central Grand Bahama. You have two oppositions now.
Good side. He's talking with the two sides. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Before I get to my contribution, I also, as a former Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, also like to recognize this wonderful group over here and thank you for your labor of love, Ms. Neely. And to the younger leaders, where you are, I once was. Where I am, one day you will be, God's willing. Who said it, Prophet? I hear you, Fox Hill. Madam Speaker, today I stand before you to discuss the automatic exchange of financial account information amendment number 2 bill 2025. Madam Speaker, this is a piece of legislation vital to maintaining the integrity and global standing of our financial service sector. Madam Speaker, as was indicated, I believe, by Nassau Village, while the bill is primarily technical, it has far-reaching implications for our economy, the ease of doing business, and the specialized economy of my island, Grand Bahama, and particularly the city of Freeport. Madam Speaker, in my analysis of the bill, like I normally do, I have identified what is, in my view, strengths and weaknesses. The core purpose of this bill is to amend the Principal Act to enhance regulatory compliance, align further with International Common Reporting Standard, CRS requirements, and refine enforcement mechanisms. One of the strengths, Madam Speaker, of the bill is that it enhances international compliance, which, of course, is one of our main objectives. The bill strengthens the Bahamas' commitment to the OECD's Common Reporting Standards. This adherence is crucial for maintaining our reputation as a responsible financial jurisdiction and avoiding potential blacklisting, the word that we keep hearing, or sanctions, which will severely hinder our financial sector. Another strength, Madam Speaker, is that it supports or provides a clear regulatory structure. Redefining the term designated supervisory authority to explicitly name the Central Bank, the Securities Commission, Insurance Commission, and Compliance Commission clarifies indeed which bodies are responsible for regulating financial institutions under the Act. This clarity is essential for effective regulation. Madam Speaker, it also improved enforcement and efficiency, which is very important. The provision to allow the new competent authority to delegate functions and powers to a designated officer or designated supervisory authority enhances the capacity for data management, for compliance monitoring, intelligence gathering, and enforcement. Madam Speaker, this streamlines the regulatory process. Madam Speaker, another strength is that it addresses fiscal responsibility, which is very important. By demanding or requiring that all administrative penalties collected be paid into the consolidated funds, it ensures that fines contribute directly to the national treasury, something that we need to keep loaded. Madam Speaker, this bill forces practitioners to uphold the rule of law, inserting a new section providing for appeals on matters of law to the Supreme Court, guarantees a legal recourse, which is important, for persons challenging a decision by the competent authority. Madam Speaker, as I have addressed, and I'll be very brief, the strengths and benefits, I must also address what I see as weaknesses with the corresponding areas for improvement. Madam Speaker, we are trying to improve on the ease of doing business, but this bill speaks to an increased compliance burden, in my view. Madam Speaker, while essential, the constant refinement of AEFAI legislation can impose a continuing and growing administrative and cost burden on reporting financial institutions, or RFIS. Small to medium-sized financial services firms may struggle, Madam Speaker, to keep up with the technical and human resources demand of evolving compliance standards, and it will continue to evolve. Madam Speaker, we want to improve on the ease of doing business. However, the technical nature and complexity of AEFAI requirement, even when clarified, can inadvertently, and again inadvertently, create perceived hurdles for new foreign investors who may view the environment as overly bureaucratic, even if the regulations are standard for a compliant jurisdiction. It's not new to us, but that's the way they look at it. Madam Speaker, then there's another weakness in my view, the risk of over-centralization. While delegation is positive, there must be a clear, transparent, and standardized framework for the delegation of powers to ensure consistency, a word used earlier in our devotion, and prevent arbitrary application across the various supervisory authorities. Madam Speaker, improving ease of doing business and the lives of Bahamians to mitigate the weaknesses and truly leverage the compliance improvement for economic growth and the benefit of Bahamians, we in this place must adopt an approach that supports our financial sector and foster entrepreneurship. Madam Speaker, here are my suggested proposals for improvement. 1, compliance, simplification, and support. We must counter the perception of complexity with active support. Very important. Establish a dedicated one-stop digital compliance portal, and we spoke about this in this House over and over, for RFIS to submit all necessary information, standardizing the process across all designated supervisory authorities. Offer financial and technical assistance or tax credits for smaller financial institutions to invest in the technology and training needed to meet the stringent AEFAI requirements, thereby reducing the direct cost of compliance. Madam Speaker, 2, another suggestion is regulatory sandboxes for innovation. To promote innovation without sacrificing compliance, and again, to promote innovation without sacrificing compliance, we should consider introducing fintech regulatory sandboxes where new financial technology companies can test innovative products under relaxed yet monitored regulatory requirements for a limited period, not indefinitely. This indeed would attract cutting-edge firms, boosting both our compliance profile and innovation sector. Number 3, skill development and dehumanization. The enhanced need for skill compliance officers, data analysts, and financial technologists represents a direct opportunity for Bahamians, speaking for our young people. The government should partner with the University of the West Indies, and I've often said this, government should partner with the University of the West Indies and other professional bodies to create certified training programs focused on international regulatory compliance, AEFAI, CRS, FATCA. Offering scholarship, Madam Speaker, in these specialized fields will ensure that Bahamians are qualified to fill these high-valued, high-salary roles, leading to the true Bahamianization of the financial sector. Madam Speaker, as I usually do, I must pivot and speak to the island of Grand Bahama and the city of Freeport. Madam Speaker, the economic catalyst of Freeport, Grand Bahama. Freeport's unique status as a free trade zone make its economic development a separate yet urgent national priority. The AEFAI framework, Madam Speaker, while global in scope, can be leveraged to specifically benefit Grand Bahama's economy. Madam Speaker, here are some, in my view, some targeted adjustments for Freeport. Attract blue economy and sustainable finance. Freeport, with its strategic location, always work to our benefit or to our detriment, and environmental focus, is perfectly positioned in this case to become a center for blue economy and sustainable finance. The government of the Bahamas, this government, should consider legislative incentive within, I'll say this slowly, within the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement area for financial institutions that specifically specialize in sustainable development bonds, green financing, and climate-resilient infrastructure funds. Madam Speaker, by coupling the integrity of our AEFAI framework with a focus on sustainable finance, we can market Freeport as the Caribbean sustainable financial hub. attracting specialized capital and high net worth investors with a commitment to responsible investment. Must be a commitment to responsible investment. Madam Speaker, number 2, streamline investments for the Freeport Authority. And this is something that is always playing in my mind back and forth. To truly, Madam Speaker, enhance the ease of doing business in Freeport, we must address the regulatory bottleneck at the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Madam Speaker, we must work to decouple asset ownership from regulatory functions and create a centralized, streamlined, one-stop shop decision-making hub for licensing, permitting, and approvals in Freeport. And this is one of the things that we could do to loose up investments in Freeport. Madam Speaker, a high-integrity national compliance framework like the one strengthened by this bill provides the trust needed to empower a local regulatory body in Freeport with greater autonomy, knowing that the national compliance baseline is secured. Talk about the airport. Leveraging the new airport infrastructure, the significant investment, Madam Speaker, in the Grand Bahama International Airport is set to increase tourist arrival and real estate demand once we get this airport built. We must ensure that the financial service sector in Freeport is ready to support the influx of foreign direct investment in tourism, real estate, and related ventures that will follow the airport's expansion that we are praying for every day. The regulatory clarity provided by this bill supports the confidence of large-scale investors, such as those involved in the new cruise port and resort development. Madam Speaker, by demonstrating our commitment to a sustainable compliance financial environment, Madam Speaker, as I conclude, colleagues, the automatic exchange of financial account information, Amendment Number 2, Bill 2025, is a necessary and responsible legislative step. It strengthens our financial sector's foundation, ensuring we remain a respected and fully compliant member of the global finance community. However, I want to caution us, compliance is not an end in itself. It is a means to an end. Prosperity for the Bahamian people should be the end result. We must view this bill not in isolation, but as a framework upon which we must build innovative support programs, skill training initiative, and targeted economic strategies for places like Freeport and the rest of the Bahamas. Madam Speaker, this bill is certainly non-controversial and something that will strengthen our economy and move our country forward. I urge this honorable House and its members to support this bill and simultaneously to commit to the complementary reforms necessary to turn our strong regulatory framework into a dynamic, opportunity-rich economy for all of us. Madam Speaker, with those short words, as usual, under 15 minutes, Central Grand Bahama supports and rests.
Thank you, Honourable Member. As many, the Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Marco City.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank Almighty God for this opportunity to once again lend my voice to speak on behalf of the people of Marco City and by extension, Bahamians, and to say once again, in the Free National Movement, we recognize that we work for you. That every one of us who are appointed or elected, we have come to this place and the other place on your shoulders to do your bidding. That we work for the majority of Bahamians, not for the select few. Madam Speaker, that's why we believe in competitive bidding. Unlike this administration that have made available, Madam Speaker, more than $500 million in direct awards to a variety of companies, Madam Speaker, rather than create opportunities for the vast majority of Bahamians to compete and bid. And if we threw in BPL, Madam Speaker, then we would have to go north of $1 billion in direct awards. No competitive bidding as national assets are privatized, Madam Speaker. But I rise today to lend my voice and our support to the automatic exchange of financial account information amendment bill, Madam Speaker. But we do so at a time when many of our residents, Madam Speaker, are traumatized once again by a passing hurricane. Several of us in here, Madam Speaker, live through and have survived hurricanes that threaten the lives of so many Bahamians, and where we have had neighbors who have lost lives. So every time we hear of a strong, powerful storm, we are concerned about our brothers and sisters, not just in the Bahamas, but throughout the region. And our hearts go out to them, and we extend our prayers, Father God, on behalf of all of our citizens and brothers and sisters in the region. And we know that God is able to protect, and He's able to help us restore generational wealth that has been lost in so many hurricanes, Madam Speaker. I heard a heart-wrenching voice note from a young man from Ragged Island, and I'd hope that would have been commented on so we could know exactly what were the circumstances, where he talked about inability to get a flight out of Ragged Island and the concern that we seem to spend more time facilitating others than facilitating our own interests. It is my hope in the wrap-up the government would be able to speak to it, whether or not persons who desired evacuation, if it was not taken care of. I know that during the course of the time when we were being briefed, I was able to communicate with Minister Lundy and Minister LaRoda, and they were helpful on several matters. But when I heard the voice note from the young man from Ragged Island, the place where my father is from, Madam Speaker, I was deeply concerned, and I think it's useful to speak to that issue.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
Madam Speaker, I heard the same voice note in a family group. The young man was speaking about us sending Bahamas Air to Jamaica, and Bahamas Air was sent to Jamaica to evacuate Bahamians, not Jamaicans. Subsequently, everyone who wants to be off of Ragged Island is off of Ragged Island. It is an issue that the airstrip at Ragged Island is in the condition that it is in. There were 2 smaller craft that took persons from Ragged Island to Exuma, but it is unfortunate that the act caused that relative of ours to speak in berating terms about Bahamas Air evacuating Bahamians from Jamaica, which was in the strike zone of a Category 5 hurricane. And we have seen the damage done to Jamaica. And he was corrected in the family chat by somebody who pointed out to him that Bahamas Air went not to get foreigners, but to evacuate Bahamians out of the path of a Category 5 storm, which is our obligation to our citizens. I think he understood in the end, but when you are frustrated, you are frustrated.
Thank you, honourable member.
Thank you very much, member for Freetown, my good Ragged Island cousin. The note I heard, Madam Speaker, spoke about a young man that said a plane was scheduled to go to Ragged Island, but a inclement weather prevented it. Is that the same voice note that you're referring to?
No. Madam Speaker, we don't do phones in here, but someone from Ragged Island put the 2 planes that came. One came, appeared to be a caravan with the pontoons to land on the water, and the other was an ordinary aircraft. The $20 million storm shelter built on Ragged Island by the former administration is what the Defense Force and the residents who remain are sheltering in, a substantial building. But everyone who wanted to get out of Ragged Island is off of Ragged Island.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I had the privilege of traveling to Eleuthera to meet with Bahamian fishermen ahead of them going out to sea, Madam Speaker. And so in the midst of all that was going on, we thought it necessary to have a discussion. And Madam Speaker, again, before I weigh in further on this bill, one of the concerns that they have raised is a concern that's being raised throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, where Bahamian fishers in a significant way feel as if they are under attack by poachers, both in terms of the raping of our marine resources, and they've identified the locations. They've carefully documented the areas where this has occurred. They have reached out to multiple members of this government and cabinet seeking clarification to have an audience so that they're able to have a fulsome discussion about, again, the threat they feel they are under relative to poachers. Secondly, the government, again, making it appears to be an adjustment in the policy that we had left behind. Fishing in the Bahamas is reserved for Bahamians, and only. And so, Madam Speaker, when I was the minister responsible for fisheries, our colleagues agreed. And when I say our colleagues, I'm referring to the minister with responsibility for labor, the minister with responsibility for immigration, the minister with responsibility for fisheries. We agreed that as best possible, we are going to seek to close any loopholes that permit persons to enter into relationships of convenience in order to circumvent our laws and to work in sectors where their historical bad fishing practices can damage our marine resources. And Madam Speaker, we made substantial progress, not just in one, passing the Fisheries Act, but Madam Speaker, in two, again, identifying cases where persons were circumventing the law. And we were cautious, Madam Speaker, not to delve into private people's relationships and assume from the outset that everyone who's in a relationship with a foreigner, that somehow there's some marriage of convenience, because we don't believe that. That's nonsense. But we do find it, Madam Speaker, and we did at that time, found it very bizarre, where we would have had applications from some folks, and we could remember there were multiple applications, Madam Speaker, where persons identify themselves as living, and it was often within 2 or 3 of the same corners in the area I grew up in proudly in Angliston, and their love story of how they fell in love and was, seeking to get married to a Bahamian was the same. They went to the fish fry, their eyes met, they fell in love, and then they got married. And we then looked also at the pattern of travel, Madam Speaker. At the end of the lobster season, they were gone. They came back again at the beginning of the lobster season. Madam Speaker, there was a confluence of evidence that strongly suggested that people are misusing our system. And this is not, let me say again, this is not to cast any aspersions on anyone who is married and in love. Again, Madam Speaker, we celebrate them. We support them, and if you come the right way and you do the right things, you are entitled to what we're entitled to. That's fine. But there are others, Madam Speaker, who are not. And it appears that this administration, under this administration, there have been a proliferation, a massive growth in the number of persons who are on Bahamian vessels who are of concern to Bahamian fishers, Madam Speaker, who are fishing in Bahamian waters. And there is a deep concern. There is a growth. Then you could stand on a point of order, give me the numbers and tell me that I'm wrong. But I firmly believe, Madam Speaker, from what we know, the site test is very clear, Madam Speaker. On some vessels, there are 13. There are 13. On other vessels, there are more.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Fort Shell.
Madam Speaker, persons who are married to foreign Bahamians who are married to foreign persons. There is a very rigorous process when they apply for permit to reside, when they apply for permanent residency, and when they apply for citizenship. It's the same process. It is the same officers who are reviewing and preparing the application. If the honourable member, in making the insinuation, if the member has information, has evidence, provide it to the authorities. If there are any fraudulent marriages which are taking place, you are a loyal citizen of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Provide the evidence, provide it to the police, provide it to the immigration officer, so that we protect the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That is what I expect of every loyal citizen of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to do. So provide the evidence.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Madam Speaker, what I find rich in the member's intervention, I made it. Well, since you wish to go there, you happen to have been in another life the attorney for some of these folks that I'm talking about, Madam Speaker. So if you wish to go there, we can go there.
On a point of order, Madam Speaker, the insinuation that the honourable member has made. My work as an attorney in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, no complaint has been made to the Bar Association about my conduct, my professional conduct as a lawyer in the common. What is the relevance, Madam Speaker?
None.
Madam Speaker, I want this member. This is the Speaker. Madam Speaker, you're not the Speaker. Sit down. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I do not take liberties with anybody in this country. No, Madam Speaker, what does my being a lawyer has to do? Oh, please. Please.
Madam Speaker, let me be clear. Because I don't want the member to be misled on the point that I'm making. So I'm going to be clear. Those persons I am speaking about, I believe that you have sufficient information to know the concerns we had when I sat as minister. I'm not suggesting that you facilitated any illegal or unethical activities. I am aware, however, you represented some of those who had a concern with the position we took in our administration, with respect to who can get a compressor permit in the Commonwealth of Bahamas. And I'm willing to sit. So I'm not suggesting you sought to facilitate illegality, but I am saying emphatically that you were on the other side of a matter, that while in my professional and your professional capacity, right? And so again, no, but I've spoken to the matter. I can sit and you can clarify. That's the only point. So I want to be absolutely clear. If you want to stand up and make a point, okay, then relax yourself. I've already clarified, and if you're not satisfied, stand up. So I know that Mr. Fox have you out of sorts, but don't bring it in the house at the moment. I know. I understand. I understand. But please.
Man, listen to me.
Mr. Member for Fort Charlotte, I just hope Member for Fort Charlotte, I hope I brought clarity to your matter.
Members.
Yes,
Members.
I hope I brought clarity to your matter.
Let's come back to the debate.
Thank you.
Let's come back. Listen, we have the young future in this room. And for us on this side to be carrying on in the manner that we are carrying on today, I mean, it's incredible. We can't make it seem that when they get in this place and they're on this side, that behavior is acceptable. It's unacceptable. And I am expunging from the record because this member's private life has nothing to do with what happens in this precincts. Okay?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Is it a point of order?
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Fox Hill.
Yeah, I had hoped that this allegation of massive proliferation, that's the point I'm taking objection to. Massive proliferation. Where is the evidence of it? You just can't come here and throw out something.
Let me help you.
No, I don't need any help. I'm saying it's either you come and say we have 20 cases and here are the 20 cases. But what you're saying is the government has been engaged in a massive proliferation which leads to the complaints in Spanish Wells. And I say unequivocally that is not true. It's it's not so. Untrue. False. You asserted it. You asserted it. That's exactly my point.
So let me put it this way. When I started the chair, Madam Speaker, I was cautious, Madam Speaker, when concerns were raised by an important sector of our economy, we sought to be responsive to them. And what they have said, in Spanish Wells, in Long Island, in Andros, in New Providence, in Coral Harbor, at Port-of-Ski, is that there has been a dramatic increase of who they recognize to be foreign nationals who previously were unable to be on Bahamian vessels, fishing in Bahamian waters. Now, in some cases, the majority of the crew are not of Bahamian descent. So if it's untrue, I'm just asking you or someone who knows better, a minister, former minister of fisheries is present. I'm saying, listen to me. You are able, I would expect, if you had an objection, but this member.
I'm not going to engage in sophistry here today, right? The member, look it up in the dictionary. What I'm saying is, the fellow, look it up in the dictionary. I'm not going to engage in sophistry. What I'm saying is this. You say, out of the member's mouth, that there's been a massive proliferation in the immigration, whether it's dramatic or not. You said massive. All I'm saying is there's no evidence of that. You can't throw that out of the government because it is untrue, because what it means is there's a conspiracy which their side has been spinning round and round and round, that we are somehow dramatically increasing people to become citizens of this country. That is false, completely untrue, and I wish it debunked, and it should be struck from the record. That's my view.
I will strike that from the record.
Speaker, I submit as a substitution for massive. There has been a significant and unacceptable increase of persons. And so, Madam Speaker, I would leave that there. I would leave it there. Madam Speaker.
There is no evidence of it. It should be struck from the record.
But you are not providing any evidence to the contrary. You are not providing anything to the contrary. So how can you deny? How can you deny? How can you deny? On what basis are you denying?
Members.
On what basis? On what? Relax. Just relax this. But I'm saying, no, relax. No, relax. It's too much anger in the country as it is. Just relax. All I'm saying. So, Madam Speaker, may I continue my presentation?
Yes, I had that expunged.
Oh, exactly. So why is he on his
I had
feet?
it stricken from the record.
Yes.
And so, thank you, Honourable Member.
Madam Speaker, we have a duty of care to address the issues raised by fishermen throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Madam Speaker. That's the point. That is the no. That is the Madam Speaker. Exactly why are you entertaining him on a lack of a point of order?
That is correct.
Madam Speaker, there has been an increase, and it will pass the site test. Just leave from here, go to Port-of-Ski, go Coral Harbor. In fact, one of the persons who have so many persons on the vessel that fishers are concerned about, in fact, sent out information to the public far and wide indicating that there's deep concern about poaching, there's concerns about unsafe practices, fishing practices. Madam Speaker, let me give you an example of what we call unsafe fishing practice, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, if you are on a boat and you dive for count, and you crack the count and leave the shells at the bottom of the water on the seabed, Madam Speaker, the shells,
Thank you, Honourable Member.
The shells.
Honourable Member.
Madam Speaker, let me say this before we go down this road, Madam Speaker. No problem. Go ahead, Madam Speaker.
Everybody should have calm heads today, eh?
Madam Speaker, there's only one hot hand over there. We're calm over here.
Calm.
We're calm, Madam Speaker.
You know, honorable members, when we come to this place and we begin to throw assertions around, we have to always be mindful that we are speaking to not just the heirs that listen in this place, but the ones that are on the lenses on the outside. And when we provide these kinds of statements, you have to bring the facts. You really have to bring the facts, because it has to be proven that what you're saying is factual. If we can't do that, we have to move on. Now, today we're debating the automatic exchange of financial accounts information, Bill 2025, and well, I see number 2 there, but you know, let's stay focused.
So, Madam Speaker,
Let's stay on cue.
Madam Speaker, I heard the undemocratic recommendation by the member for Foxhill. He's done it before. He's summarily aided and abetted by his colleagues, ended debate because he did not like the comments that were being made on the floor. Madam Speaker, so he then goes to relevance. Madam Speaker, protect me, Madam Speaker, protect me from him. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, he is talking about ending the debate because he does not like the line of argument that I'm raising, right, Madam Speaker? And so, Madam Speaker, let me just say to the public, the government side, Madam Speaker, no, don't worry, I look where I please. Madam Speaker, the government side intends at 1 o'clock to end the debate. I was going to be the last presenter, Madam Speaker, on our side. We have to, Madam Speaker, now reconfigure our presentation because they can willy-nilly decide whether or not we will have a full day at work. That's what they do. That's what they do. Madam Speaker, the second Wednesday of each month, we should be given an opportunity to ask questions relevant to the national development of our country and the condition of our people. This government, Madam Speaker, has consistently avoided giving us time to ask questions, right? So, Madam Speaker, here they are, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, you said that it is important to bring the facts. Madam Speaker, this is not a transparent administration that even provides details on the most significant issues that affect us. Madam Speaker, so let me give an example, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, he's not prepared to be disciplined and should be disciplined, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, they do not present the facts. So when you are holding us to a different standard that you hold them, it sends the wrong message to the public, Madam Speaker. Let me give an example, Madam Speaker. When I was here last, I pointed out that this government made available $10 million to the Carmichael Development Corporation. That organization, Madam Speaker, I want you to hear, $10 million this administration gave to a company that is not properly registered. It's not registered. Not one of them got up on a point of order and gave an account for where the $10 million is. Not one.
Not one.
We can sit right now and say, explain to us what you did with $10 million that you made available to the Carmichael Development. So when the member for, I don't want to elevate his position by identifying, but he talked about transparency and accountability of this administration. Where's the accountability when we get up and ask? Outside, in case you will sue us, inside where we are protected, we want to know how and why did you give $10 million to the Carmichael Development Corporation? What was the money for? Secondly, we ask, you borrowed $20 million for the housing project in Carmichael, Madam Speaker. $20 million. We don't see $20 million worth of homes. We don't see $10 million worth of homes. We don't see $5 million worth of homes. We want to know what happened to the $20 million. Could the $10 million be to repay the lenders for $10 million they loaned to build the first set of homes that were never built, so you couldn't collect any mortgage payments, and you couldn't repay. And you couldn't repay. And so, Madam Speaker, we were talking about credibility. I was being asked, Madam Speaker, here's the relevance. I was being asked to present the facts. I'm saying on multiple occasions we have sought to ask for details on important things about how the people's monies are spent. I just gave 2 examples. They do not provide the information, Madam Speaker. I am entitled then, with the facts that I have,
The chair recognizes the honourable member.
To comment.
This is a bill about the automatic exchange of financial account information. Automatic exchange of financial account information. Nothing that this member has spoken in the 16 minutes that he's been speaking has been related to this bill. Nothing. Not one word. Nada. Zilch. Zero. I appeal to you. The rule on relevance.
Honourable member, are you prepared to speak at all on what we're debating today?
Of course, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'll only say this. Let me just comment for a moment on the bill, but let me say this. I understand the pressure. I understand the pressure you're under. And you know, by the grace of God, the will of God will be the will of God is going to be done in all of our cases. We come and we serve at the pleasure of the people. When they get tired of us, they send us home. And so you should not be upset if the people of Fox Hill is getting ready to send you home, because again, all of us serve at the pleasure of the people. So, Madam Speaker, with respect to the automatic exchange of financial account information amendment bill, Madam, comport yourself. Comport yourself. Comport yourself. Comport yourself back. So, Madam Speaker, you're distracting me. Madam Speaker. So, say I dare you. So, ready? Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister, the member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and St. Salvador, Madam Speaker, the member from, I'm going to close on what I told about the pharmacy. I'm going to tell you what a young lady said to me in the pharmacy about her observation of some of the races she's watched. Allow me to close with that. But Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister got up.
Rule on relevance.
Yes.
The bill is the automatic exchange of financial account information, Amendment number 2. The man has not spoken once on this bill. Not once. There's the rule on relevance.
The Prime Minister, in his presentation, the Prime Minister indicated that his administration has been spending a tremendous amount of time championing the people of the Bahamas cause in terms of climate justice, Madam Speaker. He has also gone on to talk about the pivotal role he perceives that he is playing in making sure that there is a level playing field in the international global financial services sector. Madam Speaker, I don't have a difficulty with the Prime Minister and those loyal to him trying to characterize him as a regional leader on the climate justice fight or in terms of financial services. Every time we see him or any other Bahamian on the international stage, we are proud of our people, no matter what side of the political divide they're on, when they are speaking in defense of our country. We've always said that. When we have not been correct in government, the leadership of the Free National Movement has always said, we do not begrudge the public for voting in what they believe is their best interest. So we don't have a problem conceding when we haven't gotten something right. But what we do take an issue with the member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and Salvador on, and those that bomb these termite-infested deaths in his defense for, we take issue with him trying to paint the picture that he is the first to have done it. The former Prime Minister, Dr. Minnis, the former Prime Minister Perry Christie, the former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham have all been on the international stage fighting so that we can have fair play as it relates to the EU and the OECD and the Americans that have sought to savage our financial services jurisdiction. We have always had leadership. Well, of course, listen, there is no possibility that he could defend the inordinate amount of travel that he's engaged on and the size of the junkets that he carried. So if that was his attempt to defend travel, he has failed miserably. And so, Madam Speaker, I just want to say, the Prime Minister, one thing I give him credit for, he is exceptional at playing good cop, bad cop. So the Prime Minister then speaks to the Deputy about the role he played in getting the UN to look closer at a matter that he does not believe the EU and the OECD are fair on. No problems. But what he doesn't say is in the same presentation, he got up to give the impression that the FNM has a monopoly on causing gray listing and blacklisting. Madam Speaker, it is a massive, can I say that, untruth to insinuate that that's the case. Because under both administrations, we have been victimized by the OECD and victimized by the EU. And but the point is, he again, good cop, bad cop, he wishes to give the public the impression that the FNM failed in its administration of the financial services sector, and he's done it over and over. And several members in here today made a similar point. He's also told an untruth, Madam Speaker, that the PLP has rescued the economy, that they came in and the economy had fallen off a cliff and it was heading down. But, Madam Speaker, their own records, the records of the agencies that they tout, like IMF and World Bank and their compliments to this administration on the administration of the Ministry of Finance, those same agencies indicated that when they came to government, that the economy had reopened and that there was pent-up demand by tourists around the world, particularly in the United States, and those tourists began flooding into the country, having now an opportunity because the economy was reopened. There wasn't anything magical that the Prime Minister or the member for Cat Island did. There wasn't anything magical about what the member for Fort Charlotte did. Madam Speaker, it was a simple fact that the world economy was reopening and we were beneficiaries. What I do ask them, though, Madam Speaker, I asked them, what did they do with the $12 billion they collected over the last 4 years?
For Freetown.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Marco City is seeking to rewrite history. When this administration came to power, Madam Speaker, and we were opening up, all we heard from the other side was you're going too fast, caution. We heard that over and over again. And regardless of how pent up the demand is,
Who said that?
Kalani, East Grand Bahama, you said it on one account, Sanan said it on one account. I don't recall Long Island saying it, but St. Barnabas said it, all except St. Barnabas. Sorry, except Long Island. Completely everything was, we're going too fast, we're not going to be able to deliver testing, and we're going to precipitate a problem. And so there was something magical about opening up as we opened up, because it would not have happened if the administration had not changed from one who penalized coconut boys.
Thank you, Honourable Member.
Madam Speaker, with respect to, again, I made the point, and I don't think it'll be fair to leave it without supporting it. I said, the Prime Minister was good at good cop, bad cop. You remember the good member for Pinewood and then again the good member for Fort Charlotte. Both came on separate occasions and talked about the need for us to save NIB. And in the course of attempting to save NIB, and Madam Speaker, in the attempt to save NIB, they mentioned, Madam Speaker, that there will be an increase in the NIB rate. The member for Fort Charlotte, Madam Speaker, not only mentioned what that new increase would be, he then laid out what the increase would be over time. Now, it's impossible, Madam Speaker, for someone to come in the House of Assembly on a Wednesday or a Thursday after a Tuesday cabinet meeting and to say something contrary to what a cabinet has concluded. So we believe the member for Fort Charlotte. Yeah. Good call. But the Prime Minister then came later because the public was so upset and outraged by the rates they were about to put on the public that he came and said, oh, no, that can't happen. But he didn't just do it that time, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, inland revenue, accompanied by police with guns, or law enforcement with guns, and other agencies of the government went into businesses to check whether people were VAT compliant, whether things that they could discover, Madam Speaker, they could discover on a computer, they went into businesses.
Tedious repetition.
Tedious.
The bill is automatic exchange of financial account information, amendment number 2. The man has not spoken one word on the bill since he got up on his feet.
Madam Speaker, let me just say this before I continue to support what I said. Let me finish that, Madam Speaker. The Prime Minister then, when the public was outraged by armed guards going into businesses, the Prime Minister said, no, we have to do this a different way. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, but I'm straight in the process now.
Honourable member, let's speak at least for the last 6 minutes, 5 minutes on the bill.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, this amendment that the member for Fox Hill is referring to has unintentionally increased the burden on small businesses. So I think you should pay attention. Madam Speaker, this amendment that has been brought today has unintentionally placed additional burdens of compliance on small businesses by potentially, Madam Speaker, requiring annual audits and raising penalties for non-compliance, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we risk punishing the very enterprises that we should be empowering. Many small business firms, Madam Speaker, operate on narrow margins. Adding another costly audit or compliance layer will make a difference in whether they survive or not. One of the things we will do, Madam Speaker, is remove this requirement, this automatic requirement for the range of businesses that this government is penalizing, that they will not have to produce an audit, Madam Speaker. Some of them need only have an audit review that is conducted, Madam Speaker. Many of them, Madam Speaker, their only client is the government. So the government already knows what their revenue is. And yet the government is requiring some of these agencies to, again, have an audited report. The second thing we would eliminate, Madam Speaker, we do not believe that businesses ought to pay this year's business license fee and estimate what their fee will be next year and pay that as well. It affects the liquidity, Madam Speaker, of those businesses. And so those two things are things we will automatically, upon coming to government, eliminate. The requirement that all businesses have an audit, and 2, the requirement that you would have to pay, Madam Speaker, not just this year's business license fees, but, Madam Speaker, next year's business license fees. And so, Madam Speaker, having said that, I wish Madam Speaker to resume. Madam Speaker, while the member is still in the precincts, I just wanted to say, a lady stopped me in the pharmacy, Madam Speaker, and she was talking. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me.
This bill is before the House. He's not spoken on the bill since he started speaking.
That's it.
Now he's going to go into some tedious irrelevancy.
That's it.
I ask you to stop him in his tracks.
Madam Speaker, he's giving you instructions. That's most irregular.
More than him?
It's most irregular. So, Madam Speaker, I was saying that, with all the flooding that was going on in New Providence, an issue that all of us, Madam Speaker, have a responsibility to correct. Madam Speaker, I went to a pharmacy.
No.
And
Honorable member.
I thought you were allowing me to.
No. Yes.
A lonesome and dishonorable. It's tiresome irrelevancy.
Stay
on the bill. Speak
point.
on the bill.
With the bill. Don't allow yourself to get distracted.
Yeah. So, Madam Speaker, the member is seeking to direct the chair, and the speaker is unable to do that. We don't take him seriously.
He's unable to do that. He's not directing the chair.
Okay, good. So, Madam Speaker,
he's just indicating the rules, the relevance.
Yes. So
that's what he's doing.
So, Madam Speaker, we support any attempts, Madam Speaker, to ensure that there is a level playing field in the International Financial Services District, to ensure that the Bahamas and countries like the Bahamas are not treated any differently, Madam Speaker. And so as we debate this bill, we have now, Madam Speaker, done so in the context of this election season. And Madam Speaker, one of the things that struck me recently is in the midst of this flooding that has been going on, Madam Speaker, we had, Madam Speaker, a lady stopped me in one of the pharmacies.
No, I'm not allowing that. I'm not allowing that. And
I am concluding my remarks. And Madam Speaker, the lady indicated
to the member, but don't put that on the floor of this house.
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker.
No. No.
So, Madam,
leave it alone. Or I'll let him loose.
No, he can proceed. He can proceed, Madam Speaker. We don't mind. Madam Speaker, some of our candidates, Madam Speaker, in this country, they are inspiring.
Listen, this isn't free advertisement for election.
Allow me to, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, may I conclude my remarks, Madam Speaker?
You may conclude on the bill.
Yes. So, Madam Speaker, as I've said, the Free National Movement supports this amendment, Madam Speaker.
Love that.
And we support every candidate in this House that is prepared to bring in a truck to pump out drains, to ensure that flooding.
Strike it from the record.
That flooding does not happen in communities in the Bahamas. Why would you strike? Why would you strike from the record?
Come on.
Applauding members of Parliament on all sides and aspirants who are. That does not
applauding. That's the job.
Correct, Madam Speaker. And so you cannot strike from the record. You cannot strike from the record.
That's what they're supposed to do, and that's what they're mandated to do. That's what they were elected to do.
And I applaud them. I applaud every one of them that have worked to clear drains that have not been cleared, to work on the flooding issue that exists in the Bahamas, Madam Speaker. With those two words, Madam Speaker, Marco City and the Free National Movement, we support the bill.
As many. Chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
Madam Speaker, as was indicated by the member for Marco City and St. Anne's, the intent was made very clear. But Madam Speaker, before I ask you to put the question, this is yet another debate in which they agree with what we're doing, agree to it without addressing it, and agree to it, Madam Speaker, while speaking about everything else. And Madam Speaker, what the public should become used to is debate means we test ideas. And the only thing that one can gather from the lack of debate in this House is that there is no iron to meet the iron of Cat Island, Rum Cay, and San Salvador. The only thing that we get when we are young and we talk about everything other than the topic, is that we know we would lose the argument if we address the topic of the day. We see that all of the time, Madam Speaker. The member for Cat Island, Rumpkins, and Salvador did not suggest, and in fact agreed with Kalani, that all prime ministers seek to do their best by their country. Now, the reality is, no prime minister before this prime minister has managed to get the UN to do what the UN has now committed to do. That's the only point that's being made. Nobody suggests that Kalani, the member for Kalani, when he was in the chair, if he could get the UN to make the bold step that they have, they wouldn't have done it. The only point being made, and it relates to this bill, by the member for Cat Island, Rumpkins, and Salvador, is that he managed to accomplish that. And now one must wonder, what is the difference?
The chair recognizes
That's a
the
point of
honourable
order.
member for St. Anne's.
We've been in communication with the leader of government business, and his request and direction was that they would move to close at 1. We've advised that all of our speakers are intending to contribute. We have one present now whose constituency is under hurricane warning watch, and he had every intention of speaking. So there's sufficient time to give him 5 minutes at least, Madam Speaker, and for leader of government business to still close. They asked, and they said that they would move to close at 1. It's well before 1 now, Madam Speaker. We would be denying elected representatives the opportunity to contribute to debate. If they didn't have so many ministerial communications at the beginning, there would have been more time. But this is debate, and a member like Long Island, Madam Speaker, in the heart of hurricane, should be given an opportunity to speak.
There is a 30-minute allotment at the end when Long Island can address his constituents. The reality of it, Madam Speaker, is as the member for for Fox Hill continued to say, is that this is a particular bill. If the indication is that Long Island wishes to speak to his constituents about the automatic exchange of information, that would be fairly rare. But, Madam Speaker, this is the habit that we have. And so, Madam Speaker, the reality of it is, as the point I make, Madam Speaker, is, Madam Speaker, the point that I make, Madam Speaker, is the point that is made, Madam Speaker, is that many prime ministers have tried to do what has actually been accomplished. And, Madam Speaker, because Marco City, who is no longer here, sought to say somehow that magically Cat Island, Rumpkins, and Salvador has such presence that apart from going and making relationships, he could move such an august body to do something. Kalani would have been seeking to do it. The former Prime Minister, the member for Centerville at the time, would have been seeking to do it, and the member for North Abaco would have been seeking to do it. And so the public must question, how is it that in less than 4 years, this Prime Minister was able to do it? And when I was young, you do that by looking at what he has done differently. And he's engaged broadly with people who needed to vote yea on the issue. He's made relationships. He's made relationships that have borne fruit. And mind you, Madam Speaker, it's borne fruit in what we are doing to prevent us having to continue to do bills like this, if one wishes to know how it's relevant. Because Kalani made the point, we have to continue to do this because we dance at the whim of these people until we can stop it. And so for Marco City to say they would do something different, and this is what, and in fact, Central Grand Bahama, that they would do something different when everybody knows this is what is demanded from the people who have not quite gotten off our necks yet. But, Madam Speaker, the Bahamian people must understand that this Prime Minister was able to accomplish this massive feat by how he conducted himself from the beginning. You see, Madam Speaker, I've had the pleasure of being led by Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador and some matters. And the process is very simple. You decide where you want to go, and you have to start to prepare before you begin, and you have to be consistent throughout. And that is what has happened, Madam Speaker. And so, yes, we have to do this, but there will come a time where we may no longer need to do this, and history will show that that journey started under this administration. And that is not to take anything away from the previous occupiers of the office who did their best. It is just, Madam Speaker, that it has been accomplished in this administration. And so, Madam Speaker, as much as I would not like to be asking the question to be put on this bill, because we are where we are at the moment, I would move that you put the question on this bill.
Thank you, Honourable Member. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a second time and committed. A bill for an act to amend the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act. As many are in favor, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Ordered that the bill be read a second time and committed.
A bill for an act to amend the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act.
Thank you. For the second readings?
No further second readings. That the House do now dissolve itself into the Committee of the Whole with the member of North Abaco in the chair.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Members. I know, yeah. It's been moved and seconded that the House will now commit itself into Committee of the Whole with the Honourable Member for North Abaco and the chair. As many are in favor, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The House will now dissolve itself into the Committee of the Whole with the Honourable Member for North Abaco in the chair.
Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Chairman, the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Number 2 Bill 2025, I move that the long title of the bill be agreed.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the long title of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The bill is agreed.
That Clause 1, the short title of the bill, be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the short title of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The bill is agreed. The short title is agreed.
And I move that clauses 2 to 7 of the bill be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that clauses 2 to 7 of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Clause 2 through 7 is agreed.
I now move that the bill in its entirety be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be agreed. As many are in favor, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The bill in its entirety is agreed.
I now move that the House do resume with the Speaker and the Chair. Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the House resume with the Speaker in the chair. As many are in favor, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. It is agreed that the Speaker will now take the chair. Madam Speaker, I beg leave to report that the Committee of the Whole has examined the bill, having made no amendments thereto.
Honorable members, the Honorable Member for North Abaco and Chairman of the Committee of the Whole has reported that the committee that has examined the bill, having made no amendments thereto. Third reading.
I now move for the third reading and passing of the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Number 2 Bill 2025.
Thank you, honorable members. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a third time and passed. A bill for an act to amend the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act. As many are in favor, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Ordered that the bill be read a third time and passed.
A bill for an act to amend the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act.
Ordered that this bill do now pass and the title thereof declared to be Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Number 2, Act 2025. Further third readings?
No further third readings.
Order that the clerk to take the bill passed by the House today to the Honorable Senate for their concurrence. We will now revert back to the order of business.
Speaker, before you proceed, can I move that the House do sit beyond 1 p.m. to wrap up the balance of the agenda?
Thank you, honorable members. It has been moved and seconded that the business of this House to proceed beyond the 1 p.m. hour. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The House will now proceed beyond the 1 p.m. hour. Consideration of Senate's amendments, resolutions, member statements. The chair, honorable member, I had given precedent. I will. The chair recognizes the Honorable Senior Man Member of Kalani.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It's not usual that I would rise. It's not usual that I would rise so quickly, but as this Parliament is coming to a close so quickly, I don't want the member to cut the entire time for member statement to 5 minutes, and I'm left out again. But Madam Speaker, first of all, I would like to thank the government, congratulate them on evacuating the people from the South. I think that process has been started by us, the FNM. If you had spoken to us before, then you would not have ran into the challenges. But Madam Speaker, I want to ask the nation to pray for those both in Jamaica and Cuba. I have a special attachment to 2 Caribbean islands, that's Jamaica and Barbados, having attended school in both those islands. I know what Jamaica has gone through and what Cuba will be going through. But Jamaica was there for us when we were struck by Dorian. They were the first Caribbean island on our shores to assist us with
security, and that is a great challenge after hurricanes. Cuba is there for us also, in that they sent us tons of food to help in feeding our population during those great needs and challenge. And I would ask Bahamian people, not only do we pay for them, but look into our hearts and see what we can give to the Red Cross, dried foods and other types of foods, to send to both nations as it may be necessary. They were there for us, and I think we need to be reciprocal. I want to remind the Bahamas that Kalani had its Pink Walk in support of Breast Cancer Month. It was last week, Saturday, very successful. Over 100 people came out and participated in the walk in support of breast cancer. And lastly, Madam Speaker, I want to inform the residents of Kalani that on Sunday, we would be having a meeting at 5 p.m. at the Cable Beach Police Station. This meeting is especially for the residents of Devonshire, Hampshire, and Yorkshire, where important matters would be discussed. So as many as possible can come. I hope would be there so that they can express their concerns and participate in further beautification and organization of the Kalani constituency. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Long Island.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to have an opportunity to rise on behalf of the great people of Long Island. Madam Speaker, in rising today, though, I rise with a heavy heart and a clear purpose. Madam Speaker, Hurricane Melissa, I understand, is now crossing the eastern end of Cuba and will move across the southeastern and central Bahamas today. Reports are that this storm is now sustaining some 105 miles per hour winds. And we have been warned that hurricane conditions are expected across our islands, and that includes Long Island. In fact, we are one of the islands that is deemed to be hit hardest, Madam Speaker. And so given that, I want to speak to my people. Madam Speaker, I can't hear myself over these members. It's disrespectful, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we're expecting some 5 to 10 inches of rain, and as it stands, I want to say to the people of Long Island, my home, the place where I was raised, I want you to hear me plainly. This is serious. This is a dangerous storm. The track of Melissa moves it right across our region, right across our island. And we expect conditions to deteriorate quickly. And these conditions will include hurricane-force winds, heavy rainfall, and flooding. Madam Speaker, I know what pain looks like. I know what it is to endure a hurricane. Obviously, in 2015, we had Hurricane Joaquin, and we saw homes lost, livelihoods shattered. And I remember growing up as a boy in Long Island with Hurricane Lily. And Hurricane Lily caused major damage on the island. Trees uprooted, places damaged, people displaced. And so to my people in Long Island, I say to you, secure your homes, batter up, remove any loose debris from the yard, go out and shop. You know, if you haven't already, get your non-perishable foods, your water, charge your devices, take all precautions as we go through this period. I've been advised, Madam Speaker, that 4 hurricane shelters are open on the island. That being the First Assembly's Discipleship Center in Salt Pond, the Community Center in Clarencetown, the Salem Baptist Church in Millis, and the Seymour's Gospel Chapel in Seymour's. So I encourage Long Islanders, especially those who are in low-lying areas or who feel some kind of issue concerning their residence that it may not withstand a storm, to move to high ground, to utilize one of the shelters. Sometime in 2021, Madam Speaker, I purchased from the constituency fund generator generators. It was about 9 shelters at the time. I purchased generators for all the shelters and additional generators to be used as backup. So I'm hopeful they were donated then at the time to local government and the then administrators. I'm hopeful that those generators have been put into use or will be put into use to provide service to the people who occupy these shelters, whether it's be able to charge their phones or to get a hot cup of tea from a microwave or something like that. And so, Madam Speaker, I say to my people, do not venture outside, do not drive through the storm. And if you are a senior and you feel yourself in some kind of danger, please contact the local authorities so that you can be transported to a shelter or some safe place. And as it relates to the government, Madam Speaker, I ask the government to prepare now for any immediate post-storm relief flights into Long Island that we may need bringing medical aid, water, food. I'm still hopeful that this storm would break up and wouldn't hit us with any strength, but you know, that's hope. We still must plan for the way ahead. I understand that Bahamas has discontinued flights into Long Island. I intended to go in today as well. There are no flights into Long Island today, and the mail boats didn't sail this week. And I was told yesterday there was a run on the stores with people just buying whatever. So I doubt there's much in the food stores at this point, given the fact that the mail boats didn't come. And so I encourage Long Islanders, those who have, to share with those who may not have, and to help each other. Madam Speaker, lastly, I was a bit disappointed. I saw that the government facilitated flights to all the other islands that would be possibly affected by the storm, and they didn't offer the option of the flights to Long Island. There are some Long Islanders who reached out to me saying that they wish that they had the option because some of them wanted to come out of the island and come to Nassau, ride out the storm in Nassau with family and so on. And so with those few words, Madam Speaker, I continue to pray for my family, my constituents. I continue to be concerned about my property and my family and my constituents and my people on the island. But we Long Islanders have endured trials before, and we've all been strong. And so I say to my people, let us prepare wisely and take every precaution. Madam Speaker, I believe that together we can weather Hurricane Melissa. So may God protect us all and bless the people of Long Island. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for South and Central Andhra.
Yes, Madam Speaker. I spoke about it earlier in my presentation and my communication, but just because it was brought up again by Long Island, I just want to say that we're guided by the Met Department, and this storm was actually, and as it has shifted south more towards Crooked Island and that area, the effects of the storm would not be felt as strong on the entire island of Long Island. That's why it didn't warrant an evacuation, as was the case in the other southern islands, what will feel a full effect of the storm, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Any further member statements? No? Appointment of select committees. Instructions to select committee. Discharge of select committees. Notices for future meetings.
Renew all notices in the name of the government.
And I renew them in the name of the opposition. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House on its arising do adjourn to next week, Wednesday, 5th of November at 10 a.m.
Second.
Thank you, Honourable Members. It has been moved and seconded that the House at its rising on 5th November 2025 at 10 a.m. do adjourn. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Final adjournment.
I now move, Madam Speaker, that the House do adjourn to Monday, the 5th of November at 10 a.m.
Thank you, Honourable Members. Wednesday. It has been moved and seconded that the House will now adjourn to Wednesday, 5th November 2025 at 10 a.m.
All rise!